Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pits of Metal and Motor Chaos. It's yours, Dave. Wednesday evening. Got a special guest in a minute or two. Frank Dragotta Jr., former drag racer. Sold his car last year, the Flim Stang. We'll be talking to him about his drag racing history. So hold on, let me give Frank a buzz.
Hello.
Good evening, Frank. You're live on the air in the Pits of Motor Chaos. How you doing?
Good, Dave. Good to talk to you. Thank you for the invitation.
No problem. So hope you're staying safe in these, little rough times we're going through now.
Yeah, so far so good. It's definitely an interesting situation.
Yeah, it's putting a halt on drag racing for the year.
Yeah, it sure is. Hopefully things turn around here soon.
So now, Frank, you drove the Slim Stang, but you sold it last year, right?
Yeah, I sold it in September of 2019. Excuse me. It now resides in Knoxville, Tennessee. Gentleman bought it. I had it listed on Race Junk and had quite a few hits, and he was the first one to come rolling in.
Now, the Slim Stang, was that altered?
Actually, it was a funny car chassis. It was a vintage Don Long 125-inch chrome alley funny car chassis, and I was thinking of creating some sort of an altered type deal. And I didn't want to do a T-bucket or a Bantam because there's just so many of them out there. So that one thing led to another, and I created the Slim Stang.
Now, what kind of engine was in there?
Actually, the only engine I've ever had in all my race cars, it was a small block Chevrolet 355 that produced about 500 horsepower. I've had that motor in every dragster and altered I've ever owned.
Now, was that alcohol injected?
Both. When it was in the Slim Stang, it was both gas, and then I switched over. I built my own mechanical fuel injection system and switched over to alcohol.
So how long did you have that car for?
I believe I bought it. I bought the chassis from a friend of mine in Rochester, Luke Zane, and it came out of Texas. I bought it in 2015. It had been around the horn, but it's never been down the track. And people have, did different things to it here and there, but it just was never ever finished. And so I got it the spring of 2015, and I believe I had it in a car show the following year, 2016. And later that summer, I take it back, I think 17 is when I actually got it out to the track. And ran it up until, like I say, last September.
So how many times did you get her down the track?
Probably about a dozen times. That's about it. I didn't get to the track all that often, work constraints, and it's tough with, digging out of a crew, that kind of thing. And I'm notorious for changing things. I don't seem to be satisfied. So I'd make something and do this and do that, and then I'd switch it around and go from there. But, yeah, it didn't get out all that much.
So how'd she run for you?
She ran good. When it was on gas, we made some test passes at Empire Dragway up in Leicester, New York, and we ran right out of the box. We run 10 flat at 130, and when I switched over to alcohol, we got down. Then I was just running 8th mile. We got down into the 620s with it.
Now, before the Slim Stang, have you drove anything else?
Yeah, I started actually.
Yeah, what year did you start drag racing?
I actually started drag racing in '94. I'd been a lifelong fan as far as that aspect of things, but I'd never owned a car until '94. I bought a used front engine dragster from a friend of mine, Dave DiCarlo, and that was that, like I say, the engine in that car has been in all 6 of my cars. But that was my first one. That's what I got my license in. That car ran, oh boy, probably about 940, 930 on a pretty regular basis. And that's what I got my competition license in.
Then what other cars have you drove after that?
Well, once I got my license, I remember Empire used to have what they call the CarQuest Empire Nationals, which was an IHRA national event. And I was there as a spectator, and I was watching people like Danny Bastianelli and Anthony Bertazzi racing in Quick Rod and in Top Dragster. And I said to myself, I need a rear engine dragster. So after running the front engine car, we built the first rear engine dragster and pulled the motor and training, rear end, everything, and put it in my first rear engine dragster. And right out of the box, it ran just as good as it did when it was a front engine car. I ran that for a few years and sold that to a friend of mine, Jackson Brown, out near the Rochester area. And he campaigned it for a few years, and he actually qualified for the Empire Nationals, and he won a couple of rounds in Quick Rod a couple of years later. So that was kind of exciting to see that the car was competitive. And I believe it's still in Rochester in some way, shape, or form. And when I sold that car, we decided to build more of a state-of-the-art rear engine car. And I bought an Art Morrison kit chassis, I should say. And that was like a 220-inch chrome alley chassis, pre-bent tubing, and basically you had to build a car from scratch. And that car ran as quick as 894 at 154. And I ran that probably off and on 3 years, and ended up, for whatever reason, I ended up in El Cajon, California. Gentleman actually sent a tractor trailer to pick that up, but I sold that as a roller and stepped away from the sport. That would have been probably 2000, I think, is when I sold that. And I had stepped away from the sport at that point, and I had moved. I grew up in the southern tier, south of Buffalo, like about 60 miles away, so it was a bit of a travel to go to the tracks. I ended up relocating to the Buffalo area, and I could sit on my front porch, and I could hear the cars at Lancaster Dragway, which is at NYIRP, and I could hear them doing burnouts. I'm thinking, man, I'm 10 minutes away. I need another car. So that's when I built a state-of-the-art front-engine car, and that was a 204-inch wheelbase car, and it was kind of unique because I built it with rack and pinion steering, and it worked real well. I never actually drove that car. I ended up selling it and buying the Fiat Topolino altered, which is known as the Little Red Apple. And I ran that for a couple of years, and let's see, I made a deal. Let's see, I sold that to a gentleman in Rochester, and I was done. That was it. I'm retired. So finally, I got the bug again, and that's when we built the Flim Stang.
Now, did you have any success in any of these cars?
I spent more time tinkering, fabricating, that kind of thing. I wasn't I guess I never had the killer instinct as far as trying to win races. I would go a couple of rounds, years or, back in the front engine dragster days. But I guess I never really pursued racing to win. I think it was more the fun of building and driving, that kind of thing.
Now, are you permanently retired now, or are you going to get the itch again?
Well, if I do anything, it's probably going to be a street strip car, something, that I can just hop in, drive the track, race it, drive back home, that kind of thing, if I go back into it. At this moment, I am definitely retired, but that could always change.
Are you going to be helping anybody out, like crewing for anybody or anything like that?
Well, yeah, I actually I help out my friend John Kozneski. He owns the Polcal Racing Nostalgia Funny Car, and is a Corvette, and he races with the Great Lakes Nostalgia Funny Car Circuit. They'll travel to do races, and I help him on the crew as far as backing up the car, taking video, that kind of thing.
Denny Salzwimmer's group.
That's correct. Yeah, and they've got quite a bit of bookings this year, so it looks to be a pretty successful year if this virus thing cooperates.
Right. Yeah, I know he does that big one up in Keystone?
Yes, it's the Funny Car Nationals.
Yeah.
That's an excellent track and an excellent race. It's a good time. They run two classes. The injected funny cars and then the blown funny cars. It's always an amazing show.
Yep. So now what got you into drag racing in the first place?
My dad brought home a magazine. It was called Drag Strip, and I saw these cars. I saw these silver suits with respirators and aviator goggles, and I said, "That's it. I want to know all about that." And my dad ended up taking me to a place called Niagara Drag Strip back, I'd say, 68, so 68 or 69. And it was perfect timing because they had what they called the Gold Cup Nationals. And that was where all the big guns from all over the country came to race. So I saw BB and Mulligan, Ramchargers, Bill Maverick Golden with the Little Red Wagon. That was it. It was over. I was hooked.
Yeah, 1968, that's when I was born.
It was that was an amazing time. And so we would go every year to the Gold Cups, and then after Niagara closed down, I would go to Cayuga, Ontario. They used to have an NHRA divisional race, so alcohol cars on down. I would see, watch those guys. But I never really owned a car until, like I say, 94. It was more of a spectator aspect in the beginning.
Yeah, then, like, I was about 4 or 5, then my dad started taking me to the drag racing tracks out here in the Midwest. Great Lakes Dragway in Wisconsin and US 30, which closed down years ago in Indiana, those two tracks, and that's how I got hooked on drag racing.
Yeah.
Seeing Snake and Mongoose and Blue Max and Jungle Jim and all those cars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That was the greatest times. I mean, like I say, I would walk a mile each way to downtown in downtown Salamanca, where there was a news store, magazines and that kind of stuff, and I'd buy every hot rod, Carcraft, Drag Racing USA, Popular Highway every month. I'd buy them all, But back then, those magazines would tell you a story, because they weren't, there wasn't anything on TV for the most part. But you could just look at the pictures and the captions, and you could follow through a race. And that was great times.
Yeah, those were the good old days, Frank.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Going to the track and seeing a big field of funny cars with all the, staging lanes out of funny car. Well, just like going to the Dennis Salzwimmer's big event, you seeing all the funny car hoods up in the staging lanes.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they line them all up on the track like the old days at Orange County International Raceway. They line them up for a photo shoot every year at the Funny Car Nationals. It's just downright impressive,
And
I mean, if anybody, if that funny car circuit comes anywhere near a track, everybody needs to go because it's well worth the price of admission. That's for sure.
And another good event to go to if you like funny cars is the Funny Car Chaos event that Chris Graves puts on. Yes,
I've been following that on YouTube. I'm a big fan of YouTube, and I'm always digging around for videos and coverage. That Funny Car Chaos, that seems to be real impressive. And I like the A-B fields, too, where alcohol can run nitro, that kind of thing. I think it's going to be big.
Yeah, it's awesome, seeing just as long as it's a funny car body, you can bring it and run it.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Alcohol, nitro, big shows, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard he's thinking about doing altered chaos maybe next year.
Okay. But Would it be part of the main show, or would it be
I think it's going to be a separate deal. I think it's a whole new separate deal, I believe.
Yeah. It's, another thing, too, is like the Bakersfield, like the Marsh meet and the Hot Rod Reunion, the California Hot Rod Reunion, where they have like that 7.0 Pro class. I have a friend, Steve Walzak, that runs in that. He's done very well. But it's 7.0, it's heads up 7.0, no mechanical devices. So you got to be able to drive the car, to get that perfect ET. And but it's dragsters, it's alters, door cars, funny cars. It's great class.
Yeah. So what drag racers were big influences on you when you were young?
Don Garlitz. He was
Daddy.
Was the one. Yeah. I had, like I was telling you, I got that drag strip magazine, and I probably, wore the pages off it. And I think at one point I had, I don't know, the measles or something, but I knew I was off from school, so I got to stay up late and watch. There used to be a show called the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, and Dickie Smothers was a big car guy, and he was racing. I think it was a '68 Olds Cutlass 442 in a super stock class, and they did a clip on the show of him making a pass in the car, and then they showed Don Garlitz. I'm like, he makes a pass, parachute comes out. I said, that's it. This is definitely the way to go.
No, have you ever met Big Daddy?
I met him twice, actually. I went to the museum back in '85, and then I was there again in 2015.
Yeah, when I went out to Florida with my wife, when we went to Orlando, I passed by it, but I did not stop, and I should have stopped in there.
Trust me, it's an all-day event. When I first went in '85, you could get through the thing in hour or so, 2 hours. It'd take you all day now. It's amazing. Years later, too, he came to that Empire Nationals and ran exhibition races in one of his early dragsters, and I was able to, meet him again, and he signed a book for me, that kind of thing. But yeah, he's probably my biggest influence because he was building his own stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, any other drivers influential to you?
Like local drivers going to Niagara, I would see the likes of Jimmy Oddie, Jim Zakia, Jack Kwasniewski with Jack Flash. Those are all gassers. And then you had Mike Janus, who was actually, we live in the same town. Mike actually freshened my motor back in the late 90s. So.
Now, with your drag racing history, do you have any milestones in your drag racing driving?
Probably, I was born to run at 8s and 160. I ran 894 at 154, so that would be probably my milestone. And the idea of not knowing much about it, but being able to figure out how to and build in that fuel injection system that's on the Flim Stang. That worked out so well. It was kind of a joint plan between Matt Schaff and myself, and it worked. I was pretty excited about that.
So what's the fastest pass you've ever made down a track?
894 or 154.
So how'd that feel?
Amazing. The thing was, too, it was in my dragster, so you feel it on a launch, you get that good kick, it throws you in the back of the seat. Then, you just point and shoot, and then when you hit the parachute, it kind of wants to throw you out the front. But that was pretty exciting.
Now, how was your first time experience ever going down a drag strip for the first time in your life?
Scared to death. That was the front engine car, the 160-inch front engine car. And I've never been down a track in anything but a dragster or an altered, And I had a motorcycle once. I made a couple passes, but yeah, I had a friend, Al Jackson, that kind of clued me in on how to use the trans brake and that kind of thing. I had to do short passes, like half track, that kind of thing,
right,
for the licensing aspect. But it's funny when I think I made it was 2 trips to the track to get licensed. At the end of my second trip, track owner at the time, Bob Metcalf, he says, "Well, you're good enough, so I'm going to sign your license." I says, "Perfect." I says, "What I run?" He says, 920 something or 940 something. I says, "Boy, if that's 940, I want to go 200 miles an hour." It was 140 miles an hour, and I says, "That's 140. I want to go 200." That was pretty exciting.
Yeah. So now, what's your great fondest memory of your drag racing history?
I think it's what I'm doing now with John and Chris McBride with the Great Lakes deal. I mean, I'm getting to tracks that I read about in magazines. I'm kind of a small part of a pretty darn good team, and it's enjoyable. It really is. Now,
you want to talk about your mistakes that you've made and your successes in your drag racing history now?
I guess mistakes is not putting enough effort into winning, for one thing. Drag racing is the only sport I have never gotten an award in. It's in the form of a trophy or something like that. Everything else that I've ever competed in, I've got something to show for it. But I think that would be my greatest regret. The habit I have of changing things. I'm notorious for, one day I do something one way and the next day I'll go and change it. But I've been that way my whole life, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But I think the memorable aspect of it is figuring out how to make stuff, make it yourself, and it worked. That to me is exciting. I think that's probably what I got the most out of, that I enjoyed.
So now, what kind of advice would you give someone that might be listening in and are thinking about, starting a drag racing career?
Well, if I had to do all over again, and I was young, like I say, I'm partial to open cars, as far as center steer, that kind of thing, drag steers, alters, that kind of deal. Find a used car and put a relatively bone stock engine in it. I mean, my Fiat Topolino, we had a bone stock engine in it, and it was running mid-sevens in the 8, picking the wheels off the ground with a bone stock engine. So, I mean, you'd be right in the thick of things and get your feet wet, and then do one thing at a time and keep improving. You could go a long way.
Now, do you think a person just, do you think they should start out bracket racing first?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're seeing a little bit more index racing, too. But, yeah, it do like a no-box thing, as far as bracket racing. And if there's any kind of, at our local track, actually both Empire and Lancaster Dragway are technically local. Lancaster's 10 minutes away, and Empire's 45. But Lancaster runs what they call a 750 heads-up class. And I sponsor it. Excuse me. I provide trophies and quickest reaction time, money, $25 for each of the races. And the competition is great. Heads up, 500's tree, and it's really developing a following.
Now, when you were out on the track racing, did you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions when you're out there?
No, not really. I never thought about anything like that. Never really worried too much about that. Said a little prayer before every run, but no, nothing as far as superstitions.
Now, when you had the Flim Stang, how many crew members did you have?
Uh, I had quite a few. When, at certain times, towards the end, it was kind of tough because everybody else had things going on. But first initial time, I probably had half a dozen guys helping me out, so it was kind of cool.
Now, did you have regular crew members or just different from time to race to race?
Pretty much John and Chris, like I say, they, I help out with John's car, and we basically return the favor. And Mike Horan, he would help out, and Joe Boylan, Dave Vaught would come and take pictures. Trying to think, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Everybody, the cars, I have to say, it's known all over the world because there's not another one like it. And so it always was a conversation piece.
Now, did you have any sponsorship at all when you had the Flim Stang? I
did. I had a friend of mine who's a author. She writes children's books. Barney Tales. It's called BarneyTales.com is the website. But she was my biggest sponsor.
Now, so what's the story behind the name Flim Stang?
Well, what you see there, like I say, I wanted to build my own special body. So I bought 2 quarter panel skins and 2 door skins. And and steel, and I literally fabricated that body. Initially, it was going to be narrower than it was, but the headlights were so close, I couldn't put the gas cap in. Or the tail lights. So I split it, I widened the body enough to where it rests out over the tires. And it's a one-piece steel body, lifts up like a funny car. 2 guys can lift it off, and it's different.
Now, what are your favorite tracks?
My favorite tracks?
Yeah, when you used to race, what were your favorite tracks to race on?
Well, the 2 local tracks, like I said, Lancaster Dragway and also Empire Dragway. Those are the only 2 tracks that I ever personally raced at. And but I'm really impressed with Quaker City Motorsports Park in Ohio and Keystone Raceway Park in New Alexandria, PA. Great facilities.
Now, did you do quarter mile or 8th mile?
Lancaster is an 8th mile track, and Empire is a quarter mile track. I do believe it's the longest track this side of the Mississippi River. But most of what they're doing now is all 8th mile. It seems to be the norm because most of the cars that everybody has is, they're setting them up for 8th mile.
So what was your preference?
I've always been a big fan of the quarter mile. 8th is okay, I mean, at first I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I made passes at Lancaster and thinking, this ain't so bad, and Lancaster's got a good following. It's got new ownership, and it really turned the place around. So it's going to be exciting to see what they get going this year.
Now, Frank, where did you used to buy all your fire safety equipment from?
DJ Safety.
Big Ben?
Big Ben Connick, yeah. Always took care of me. I needed my belts reserved, boom, in and out. I mean, the guy was amazing. So, yeah.
Now, throughout your drag racing history, have you had any accidents or close calls at all?
None. Knock on wood. Even if I ever go again, no, not anything at all.
All right. Now, what would you consider to be your the best race in your memory? What was your best one that sticks in your mind?
I think the best pass was a long time ago when I first started running the front engine dragster. I was at Empire Dragway, and they had a Wednesday night. I guess you call it it was an amateur night type deal. It was a mod class, door cars, anything you want, And I was racing a guy in a Monte Carlo, and I'd never made a single round of racing. I'd never done it before. So we get up there. He gets a huge head start. And I come sailing around him, and I see the cones. So I get off the gas. Well, I realized it was the 8th mile cones. He comes running up on me again, and I'm like, oh, jeez. So got back on it and was able to get the win. So that was kind of exciting.
Now, how many trophies have you won throughout your career?
Nothing in drag racing. That's the one regret that I have. I've got trophies in track, motocross, golf, but nothing in drag racing. I did win an award, though, with the Flim Stang. They have what they call the Buffalo Motorama that's held in the Buffalo Convention Center. And I forget, I'm thinking it was 2017, maybe 2016, not 100% sure. But Ian Ruzel of TV fame, he's got that, can't think of the name of the car, or the name of the show that he's got. It's on Mad TV, but he was one of the guest stars at the show, and he presented me with his award as his pick. And I thought that was pretty impressive.
Now, with all your cars you used to drag racing, did you do a lot of car shows with them too?
I would do 2 car shows every 2 years. One would be the Motorama, and the other was the what they call the cavalcade of cars, and both great times. I would lose my voice every day, each time that I did that, but it was a good time. But that was it. Just those 2 indoor shows. And they're usually March into Easter area, time-wise of the year.
Now, did you ever win any car shows?
No, just the one award from Ian Ruzel.
All right.
As his choice for his best in show pick.
Yeah. Now, outside of drag racing, Frank, you have any other hobbies?
I like to walk. It keeps me in shape as far as that goes. My hobby at the moment, I bought myself a little mini bike. I never had a mini bike when I was growing up. I always had small motorcycles. So I got this little mini bike I'm restoring. And after that, I don't know. I like taking photos at the track, in short videos, that kind of thing, and I usually post them on Facebook. Especially, with the Great Lakes funny cars. I like to get a lot of video of those guys.
Now, do you go to NHRA events?
I've been to 2. I've been to the U.S. Nationals. That was the year that Mike Janis made it all the way to second place, and a year later ended up becoming world champ. I went to U.S. Nationals in 2015. I also went to Norwalk, Ohio, for the Summit Racing Nationals.
Now, if you could do time traveling and go back into time, would you do anything differently with your, drag racing?
Yeah, I probably would have stuck to one car for a longer period of time. maybe then, I might be telling you that yes, I did win a trophy. But the thing was, I don't seem to ever be satisfied. I'm constantly trying to, make things better. That kind of thing.
Now, okay, this should be an easy question for you. What is your favorite food you like to eat?
My favorite food? Oh boy, a toss up between hot dogs and chicken wings. I am from the Buffalo area, so chicken wings are pretty prevalent here. So it's a toss up between the 2.
So for hot dog, just mustard?
Just ketchup, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Chicago, for over here, for the Chicago style hot dog, it's a sin to put ketchup on them.
I put ketchup on a lot of things. My mother used to shake her head.
Yeah, I put ketchup on my hot dogs too, though.
Good.
So what is your favorite beverage?
Milk. I've always been a milky drinker. Mother used to threaten me when I was a kid that she was going to buy a cow, park it in the backyard to keep up with how much milk I drank. But Pepsi, nice vodka and tonic every once in a while. Other than that, that's about it.
Now, have you watched a lot of movies in your lifetime?
Yeah, this winter I've kind of spent a lot of time doing that, as a matter of fact. But yeah, over the years.
So, do you have a favorite movie of all time?
Ooh, of all time, actually, most recently of all time, I think the movie Rush. That would be with Chris Hemsley, and it was a Ron Howard thing. It was all about Niki Lauda and James Hunt, Formula One racing. That's always intrigued me. I was a big fan of Jim Clark. He was a great Formula One driver too.
Okay, what is your favorite music?
Anything and everything. I DJ'd for probably 26 years back in the day. I think I quit around 2000. Did a lot of weddings and reunions and that kind of stuff. So my music taste is all over the board. Probably my all-time favorite, I would have to say, is Rush. Kind of sad to lose Neil Peart, but
yeah,
I would say Rush is on top of my playlist.
The Professor on the drum kit, man.
Oh, nothing like it.
Yep. I never did get to see Rush in concert.
Yeah, they were just here, I think, a couple of years ago. Shame on me, I didn't go. But I, like I say, I've got plenty of DVDs, and so I can watch them anytime I want.
Right. Now, when you were a kid, did you have a favorite cartoon to watch?
Yeah. Popeye was good. Bugs Bunny. Those were probably two of my favorite. Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, I'm watching it a little bit now on Throwback TV. There was a cartoon called Roger Ramjet. I don't know if you ever remember that one.
Nope.
But, okay, well, Google it. It's kind of hilarious, but, yeah.
How about TV show? What was your favorite TV show when you were young?
Oh, when I was young, boy. Well, we're going way back. Now, Man from U.N.C.L.E. was one of my favorite TV shows. That was about secret agents and all that good stuff.
Now, did you watch like Leave It to Beaver and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I wasn't too big on that.
How about Hawaii Five-0, Dragnet?
Dragnet, yeah. Occasionally Hawaii Five-0. I was big on Joe Mannix. Mannix, and then there was Tom Selleck, I think it was called Magnum P.I.
Yeah, yep.
Watch those, yeah. I go in spurts, a lot of times they're not even a series anymore. Then I'll rediscover them, you know what I mean, after the fact.
Yeah.
And then I'll binge watch, that kind of thing.
All right, so now out on the track for any of the races you've done in your history, did you have any embarrassing moments?
Yeah, one.
What was it?
I red lit by 1/1000th of a second, and the guy had like an 8-second head start. It was this Wednesday night deal. Everybody raced in the same class. And this guy had this hellacious head start. And like an idiot, I kept looking at him instead of looking at the light. And I red lit by 1/1000th of a second. And I think the other one would be when I first switched to the rear engine dragster. I was racing my friend George Pease, and George had a big block Camaro. And now all of a sudden I can see. And I can also hear because, the exhaust isn't blowing in my face.
Right.
So I pull up to the line. He pulls up. I pre-stage. He pre-staged. I stage. He wings the throttle. And I look over at him like, what's he doing? He goes in, the lights come down, and he left me parked. It's like, oh. A couple of years later, when I was having the engine rebuilt at Mike Janis's, George was there, and I recounted that story to him, and he had a big smile on his face. He says, I do that to all you dragster guys. It was comical. He buried me.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, so what is your biggest pet peeve?
Uh, not being rich and famous. I think that's my biggest pet peeve. Um, I don't have much to complain about, you know. I wish the weather was always a lot warmer here, more months out of the year. But yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty content.
So how important do you think it is for more kids to come out and watch drag racing in this day and age?
Oh, absolutely. Lancaster has the track manager, Sharon Hughes. She has a junior dragster program that she's put on for a number of years, and the kids that have turned out have turned into some great professional racers. You know, and it's a huge deal on Tuesday nights, and it keeps getting bigger every year. And these kids come out of junior dragsters and look out, you know. And so I think that's been a big plus. But coming out and being a part of it, you know, the nice thing about Lancaster is it's back up and running better than ever, and you're going to see more of that.
Yeah, the kids are the future.
Yeah, we went with John Kwasniewski. We went to US 131 in Martin, Michigan for their night of fire. And we ran the funny car. And during the day, we were out to the starting line. They had 70 junior dragsters.
Wow.
And they were like, wow, what a show they were putting on. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's a big field.
So, yeah. So drag racing's alive and well. You know, you see like the street outlaw type stuff. You're seeing, like at Lancaster, they run a pretty good, they call it the Buffalo Street Outlaws. And the cars are growing, you know. Different classes, all index stuff, for the most part. I think they have a run what you belong, you know, with the fast cars. Right. But it's bringing stuff out, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, Frank, I want to thank you very much for taking time to do this interview.
Hey, I appreciate it, Dave. I know it's been since 2018 we've been trying to put this together, but I appreciate being able to spend a little time with you.
Yeah, we got it done.
Okay.
So what? You have any final words or thank yous you want to give out to anybody out there or anything before?
There's so many people I can wish I could think of all of them to thank, but big thank you to John Kwasniewski. I mean, without him, giving me a little shop space, the Flim Stang would have never existed. And help from Mike Horan, Mike Janis, Matt Schaff, and throughout the years, Gerald George, Tim Collins, Deborah Morton, a bunch of people. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of them, but it made my life a lot easier.
And never say never. You might come back again one day.
Yeah, Danny Bastianelli, he's working me over pretty hard. The Delaware Destroyer, I don't know if you've ever interviewed him, but he would be one to definitely get a hold of. But he's working on me to get me into some sort of a door car. Having never done it, he's bound determined to see that I do.
Okay, we'll be looking for that.
Okay. Thanks again, Dave. Great talking to you.
No problem. You have a great night and be safe.
Okay, you too, my friend.
Okay, bye.